Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and here we are back now with part 8 of this Hurricane build. This is the little Airfix kit. If you want to get one, it's A01010A. So there we go. That's what's that called? Oxygen or something, oxydon or something. I can't remember. It can be spelt the same way both ways. So basically. This is what we have left of our model. We have a couple of spare parts in the bag, which are parts not used. They're for a different version, so that's fine. We've got our doors, we've got the pitot tube, we've got the antenna there, undercarriage legs, exhaust, we've got our wheels. Did I mention the undercarriage doors? I think I did. Undercarriage legs, a tail wheel, propeller, wheels, and actual plane itself. And as you can see, it's all nice and shiny. So in part 7 we got the decals on. Today is December the 16th. I haven't even launched part 6 yet. So as I am now here today, part 6 hasn't even gone out to you guys, which is getting the painting done. And I've been thinking, you know, I'm calling this for beginners, and here I am airbrushing everything. Right. I just want to clarify something. About 20 years ago, you could pay £100 for an airbrush. Okay, you can still pay £100 or more for an airbrush today, but there weren't that many around, and you had to spend about £100 for an airbrush, and maybe a bit less. 30 years ago was even worse. I mean, they were really sort of specialist items. These days, you can pick up an airbrush on Amazon for about £7, I think. So there is really today no reason to not be airbrushing. You will always get a much finer finish than you will with brush painting. It's more easy to do weathering and pre-shading and everything with an airbrush than it is with any other means, brush, spray can, whatever. And, you know, there's so many paints out there today which are airbrush only. LP paints really are airbrush only. You can brush them, but it's better to airbrush them. MRP are airbrush only. And then you've got all your Viejo model airs. They're obviously airbrush only, though you can brush paint with them, but not large areas like this. You can, but I'm on about normal now. There's going to be people, I do it all the time, which always happens. And you've got your outlaw paints, they're airbrush only. And then you get your primers and everything. You may as well go and get yourself an airbrush. I mean, this is the Bart Sharp. I can't remember the number of it now, but this comes with, you know, 3 different needles, 3 different nozzles, 3 different cups, quick couplers for connecting the airbrush, and I mean, and the airline and an air trap and everything, is a water trap and everything, and it's like £50. It's just crazy. This is all you could ever want, you know. And obviously, I like to use Iwata because it's higher quality. But I'll give you an example. There's an O-ring in here, and there's a cylinder in there where the piston is for the air, and above it there's an O-ring, and I forgot to take this out when I soaked the body, which I often do, soak the body in thinners to give it a real good clean. And I forgot to take it out, so obviously it destroyed the seal. That one seal, which is about 4mm diameter with like a 1mm section, was $14.99. I can get a complete pack of seals, okay, for this, with the little Teflon seal for the needle as well. A complete set of seals, and I think it's about £3. So, you know, it's crazy. This airbrush kit with, you know, 3 needles, 3 nozzles, 3 cups, airline, as I just said, is cheaper than that part there, the nozzle on the end. I can buy that airbrush with all of that for less than I can buy that nozzle. So just remember, when you buy these airbrushes, you know, you can get one of these abroad for like 50-60 quid, yeah? But when you think they make their money in the spares, it's more than that over here to buy a nozzle. It's £15 for that seal. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So the reason I'm including airbrushing in my beginners videos is I see no reason, unless you are absolutely, you know, cannot airbrush because of atmospheric conditions or whatever, or where you're at, you know, where you're working, where you live. Airbrushes are really expensive. You might be a youngster and your parents are saying there's no way you're having an airbrush. You know, but you can buy an airbrush these days for cheaper than you can buy one of these little kits. So, you know, you may as well, and just, you know, take your models to the extra level. And that is why I'm talking about all these processes and I'm using an airbrush. Now, if you don't use an airbrush in your brush painting, then obviously you're going to have to try and get away without the clear coats, because if you brush paint a clear coat, you're going to start losing all your detail. So this is the thing, that's why I'm covering airbrushes, okay? So, although that video hasn't even gone out yet, as I say, today is December 16th, 2023. I know for a fact that I'm going to get loads of people saying, why are you talking about airbrushes when you're talking about beginners? Well, it's not. If you look at the title of the video, these beginners videos I do, this and the begin. It's not about beginners. This is about doing it properly. This is, when I say it's for beginners, I'm explaining everything. I'm explaining everything I do, and it's doing it properly. Now, a beginner won't use an airbrush, they won't have any sanding sticks, they probably won't even have a decent knife. But I'm doing this properly. There are tons of videos on YouTube where they will show you how to do an Airfix starter set using only the paints that come in the box, only the glue, only the whatever, okay? And they'll tell you to cut bits of cardboard and apply the glue with bits of cardboard and all that. I'm not doing that. I'm showing you how to build a model properly, just a small model out of the box without adding loads of detail and going to loads of fuss. That's what I'm doing. If you want to see the other, as I say, there's loads of videos out there that will show you how to do that. So that's why I'm covering airbrushing. All right, and I will do a video all about airbrushing in the near future. Okay, so right, that's that covered. So what we need to do now, the next step on here, is seal everything in. And the reason I want to do that is because, as I said before, as you can see on here, where that decal, you can see there is an edge. You can see that scratch on the wing as well, which is annoying. That's underneath the paint. But you can see on here, there is an edge, yeah, on that decal. And if I go and put a wash on there now, which we're going to cover in this video, doing washes and stuff, if I do that now, it will pick up on that edge. So we need to basically seal it in. So it's basically like, if you can imagine, if you've got a 2p coin here on the table, okay, if I go and paint, you'll see the 2p coin. But if I put cling film over it and stretch it out nicely, you won't see the edge of the 2p coin. Anything I paint on there won't pick up on the edge because it can't get under the edge. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to give this a clear coat. Now, I've got three choices: matte, semi-gloss, or gloss. All right, I'm going to use semi-gloss. The reason being, if you use gloss, if you put a wash onto a gloss surface and then you wipe it, whether it be oil or a flory wash or anything, it will only stay in the panel lines. It will not come out anywhere else. It'll just stay in the panel lines. If you use a matte, wherever you put a wash, it will tarnish because the matte is slightly porous and the actual stain, the oil, whatever you put on it, will soak into the surface. Whereas a semi-gloss, it's kind of halfway, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to spray this using my airbrush. This is LP24 semi-gloss clear. You can use X35, I think it is, semi-gloss clear, if you want to use the acrylic and you don't want to go for the LP. But I like to use the LP paints because they're rock hard, and whatever you put on them, it doesn't affect them because they're really good and they dry really fast. And as you can see, they pull down really well, so you won't be losing any surface detail. All right, so I'm going to go and get that done now, and then I'm going to leave it for a day or so to dry, and then I'll come back. So remember, today is December the 16th. Probably the next time I do a bit of this video will be like December the 18th or something. So and December the 16th is probably the day I'm going to put part 6 out. So there we go. Right, you are in the future. No, not, you're in the past. I'm in the future. Oh, shut up, Nigel. Just one word of note for you guys. You will often see people, they'll grab a bottle of paint like this, and you'll see them sit there and they shake it and they shake it and they shake it and they put it in their airbrush and spray. With these clear coats, that doesn't work. I've shaken this and shaken it and shaken it, but if you look in the bottom of here, you can see there is a residue in the bottom. I've already given this a little stir, but you can see on here on the end of that stick, you can see like lumps. You must stir your clear coats. This is particularly thin because you can see it on there. Like you can see that is actually your matting agent, which is giving you the semi-gloss finish. If you don't stir it, you'll just get gloss. That's particularly with the matte. It must be thoroughly stirred, really well stirred. Okay, that is a must. There we go. So there we are. So that's ready now to decant to the airbrush and spray. In fact, I'll do a little bit on mine, and then you can see me spraying, because I know some people like to see that, don't they? Right. Always wipe the side of the airbrush off, because anything that's gone down the edge there will end up running down the side and then all over your model. It'll make a right mess. And then wipe off your paint jar as well. Otherwise the lid will glue itself to the jar. And then always put the lid on. And a good habit to get into, never just do this. Okay, don't just do that and leave it on the side, because what will happen is you will come along and pick it up, and as you can see there, what's happening, it's picking up the jar. Okay, if you do it fast, the jar will go over. So never leave lids undone, always do them up properly. Okay, so let's do a little bit of painting. What we'll do is we'll try it on this prop first. Just going to blow back, we'll check the flow, which is fine, and I'm just going to gently go over this propeller. Whenever you've got anything which is like a matte or a semi-matte, semi-gloss, whatever, you need to be very fine with your painting. Take your time and let it build up slowly. Alright, you can see there we've got that blowing, just going back to air. All I wanted to do there was take away the glossiness of the tip. So you can see now it's got this semi-gloss sheen to it, which is much better than having a gloss finish. And we'll do the doors as well. Just give them a little thin coat. Antenna, pitot tube. I'm only doing that so that everything's had the same. And then what we can do here, come along, blow it off. There we go. And I've got the window open. I'll only do this little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to go on that wing again. I'm going to go around in circles so we don't get any stripes. Remember, this is not a finish coat. This is just a sealing coat, just to seal the decals in. So concentrate where there are decals and make sure you get a decent layer of paint. And it's always good practice where there are decals. Don't go piling it on. Build it up very thin and let the paint build up on the decal, because sometimes what will happen is the paint will attack the decal and it'll make it wrinkle up and everything. Okay, so make sure you get all the sides. As I say, this is really all about sealing the decals in and giving us a bit of a matte surface. Just something for the washes we're going to put on, just something for them to bite. As I say, we're going to be doing all the weathering. I at the moment, here, as I stand here, I intend to complete this model in this video. So this should be the end. If it's not, it'll be no more than one more part. So just building it up, never stopping the airbrush, because otherwise you might get spatter. Okay, we've got on that wing. Make sure we get the leading edge. And then make sure we've got plenty of clear over where the decals are. Just to make sure we seal them in. And hopefully you can learn a little bit from this, because you'll see that what I'm putting down, you can hardly see. It's not like I'm piling it on and making it flood. Just going to go over the decals once more, just to make sure they're well sealed. Remember, this isn't the finish coat, guys. This is a pre-finish. And there we go. We now have a semi-gloss. Cut back to air and dry that out a bit. We now have a semi-gloss finish on our model. You can see here I touched in the red on the bottom and on those horns. That was a mixture of just Vallejo red and Vallejo brown. I just kept dabbing it until I got the right shade, and I touched the back in with some blue, and that was basically Vallejo or game colour. This one here, ultramarine blue with a tiny spot of black in it just to darken it up, and then I've done the silver little ID light on the back there. So there we go, that is our clear coating done, our sealing coat. You can see the heavier the paint goes on, the heavier it goes on, the glossier it goes. But that will dry out absolutely fine. That'll be lovely when it dries out. So I'm just going to hang this out of a drawer on my paintbrush and let it dry. See you in a minute. We are back, and it's a few days later. It's actually Christmas Eve, and I don't know if you could hear it in my voice, I've got my cold back again. Yay! Really glad about that. Okay, so moving forward, we've got our model here. It's got its varnish on it, it's got its clear coat, everything's sealed in, so we're good to go. Now we can, well, we've already removed the foam from there. I was just thinking, I don't remember doing that. Anyway, so what we're ready to do now is give the model a wash. Now there are various different ways you could do this. You could go on now and completely build the model and have it finished, okay, which I'm not going to do. Or you can give it a wash first. And the wash is basically there to fill up the panel lines and stuff. Now if this was a 1/32 scale or probably even a 1/48, I would go on and do all the detail work first. But the trouble is, with this being 72nd scale, everything is so flimsy, as you can see here, that it's going to easily get broken. So we'll do the washes first and everything, and then we can carefully assemble afterwards with a few little drops of super glue or something. So I'm leaving the foam in the cockpit because I don't want to get a wash in the cockpit. There's lots of different ways we can go around washes. We can use stuff like this. There's these oil washes from Modeller's World, which I believe are no longer available from distributors in the UK. I'm not sure. There's also the other way you can do it is it's like these sets like this, which is this is a set of washes from Megamo, and these are for German late fighters. You don't necessarily, I mean, this is their suggested washes for that scheme, but they're basically blue grey, black knight and green brown. They're just green, they're blue grey, black knight and brown and green and brown washes. So they're called pinline washes, and you can see me use them in various videos and use all sorts of different oils and everything, so go and have a look. For this one I'm going to use a Flory wash. Now this is really old, you can see it says on here Pro Modeler. That's what Flory used to be called. And Monogram got really funny about it because they had Monogram did a range of kits with a few bits of extra resin or nicer decals or whatever, and they called them the Pro Modeler range, and they got really funny with him. So that's when he became Flory Model. So you can tell how old these are. They are very old. You can see this one here says new February 11. So this one is probably the newest one I've got. So I'll give it a good shake. Okay, it's always worth giving it a good shake. And this is Dark Dirt, which I think is the best colour wash there is. The black is a bit too harsh. And the other thing to remember, I've got a brush here which I've got Flory Wash written on it. Don't ever use this brush for anything else. Don't ever clean it in any thinners, just clean it in water. As soon as you introduce the slightest bit of contamination to this stuff, you've had it. It's gone. Okay, so it's always best to just keep one brush dedicated for your Flory wash. I'm going to try a bit underneath first. Okay, so all I'm going to do is brush this on. And this is the beauty of this stuff, is you just literally brush it on. Okay, just like this. All over. It's really simple. That's all you're going to do, is brush this on all over. Now once our brush is used up a bit, so it's not totally dry but not absolutely running, you can put some in the wheel wells and then we can carry on. And as you can see, this is, I mean, anyone could do this, and this will give you a kind of professional look to your model, and it will give you a professional look to your model, and it will really make it look, it'll take it that extra step. Okay, so that's all we're doing, and what we're going to do is leave this on here and let it dry. So I'm running into problems now with holding it, so I'm going to get back to my I always call that a clothes peg then. Get back to my brush, put it on there like that. You see, this is a great reason for leaving the propeller out. Make sure we get right around the leading edge. You don't want to miss any areas, because if you do, it'll look really bright. And if you remember, I said about not using a matte varnish. That's particularly true with this. If you really want to go for a really weathered, dirty tonal change, if you use a matte varnish, this will actually soak into the matte varnish, and the whole model will take on this darker look. So that's something you want to you might want to avoid, or you might want to use. But now you can see why we've sealed those decals in with a clear coat, because the wash is not picking up on the edge of the decals at all. Had we not put this clear coat on, then we would see rings all around our decals, and possibly even getting under and lifting them. That's doubtful, but it's a possibility if there's any knocked down properly. So there we go. I just need to say there's one thing I forgot to cover as well. I'm really sorry. I've mentioned this in another video I've done. I can't remember which video it was now. I get forgetful in my old age, eh? Basically, before you put the clear coat on, get a cloth, a damp cloth, and wipe over the model before you put your clear coat on, because you'll have residue left from the decals. Whether you've used setting solutions or not, you'll have residue left. So always get a damp cloth and wash over your model. You know, give the decals a good 24 hours to dry. Damp cloth over the top, just to remove any residue. And I'm going to put some of this wash on these undercarriage legs, and you'll see how it makes them pop. It really does make them pop. Okay. We can put some on the wheel there. We'll put some on these wheels. You watch the detail in there come out. There we go. Some on the back. Some on the front. Some on the back, and the same on the doors, front and back, and then any rivet detail, anything that's there will be picked up by the wash. Any detail at all, and you'll see when we wipe it off, we will get that nice edge to it, that nice lines and stuff. Put some on there on those supports, and that's that done. We could even put some on the exhaust, I guess. Why not, eh? It is Christmas after all. Right, so I'm going to leave that now for half an hour. You could speed it up with a hairdryer, but what you don't want to do is what we're going to do now is just wipe it all off. But you can see there's still wet areas, and what you want is it for all to be dry, like this area here. You want it all to be dry, but you can see here we've got wet areas and stuff. So we're just going to leave that now for half an hour or whatever. I'm going to wash this brush out in some water, just like so. Give it a wipe, and that's ready to go again. As I say, never use it for anything else. And there we are. So we'll leave that to dry, as I say, and we'll give it a wipe down in about half an hour. Okay, so here we are about half an hour later. Now what we're going to do now is wipe this off. I'm going to take this off, because what we need to be careful of here, with that shoved in there, remember your fuselage is made of two halves glued together. If you put a lot of stress on there and force it in, you're going to split the fuselage, so be very careful of that. So it's okay to hold this stuff, it's okay to get on your hands, it's pretty non-toxic. It says it's not for children under 12 years, non-flammable, non-toxic. There you go. So it's okay. Obviously, you want to wash your hands before you eat your chicken sandwich or whatever, but or turkey sandwich, should I say. To remove it, we can use cotton buds, we can use cloth. You can use paper towel, but I would recommend against it, because with paper towel, it can be quite abrasive and it can almost sort of polish the surface. It can scratch the surface, and also you get the little bits and pieces come up. Whereas this is an old piece of t-shirt, so all we've got to do, start over here. As you can see, the whole surface is covered in this grey mess, but if we just wipe it, what will happen is the grey mess, you can wipe it in all directions. Okay, and what will happen is the grey mess will only stay in the panel lines. Okay, now if you need to, you can just damp it on your tongue, and you can see there we've got a very, very subtle panel lining. That's why I haven't used black. If you use black, it can be very, very garish. Now when it comes to areas like down in this wing root, just get in there with a cotton bud and that will get in there for you, and then you can come back to your paper towel, your t-shirt, and just rub away to your heart's content. And it's as simple as that. And the Flory washes are probably the best weathering solution for beginner. Oh, that limit rudder keeps breaking off. The trouble is it's just gluing paint to paint. I'm going to have to pin it, but that's not a beginner's thing. And now you can see that's exactly why I haven't finished the model and put all the little bits and pieces on, because they all just get broken off. So you can see on that white how it's worked. You can see how the wash is really, really stayed in all the grooves and highlights everything, makes everything really pop. And we'll see that on the base here as well. In fact, I'm going to get in there with a cotton bud, get it out of that corner. Yeah, it does want dampening a lot. So you get the idea. So I'm going to go on and get the rest done, and then I'll be back with it all done. Okay, so that's all wiped off. I've super glued the rudder back on again for like 19th time. This is something I wish manufacturers would stop doing. What they do, they give you a separate rudder, which is great, but it's just a butt fit, and there's no attachment points or pegs or anything, and it makes it extremely weak, and it only takes a tap and it just snaps off. So yeah, it's annoying, and there's quite a few kits out there like it. If you look at my channel, you'll see I've built quite a few recently, and one or two are from Airfix. So anyway, if we just do this, you can see that here we have, see how the line is broken, and that's where there's been bubbles. Oops, nearly knocked the pot over then. So what I'm going to do is just get some of this wash and just put it back into here and make sure it runs down that panel line nicely. Okay, so we can do it locally if we want to, just like that. You don't have to brush it all over. I just want to make sure that we get the wash in everywhere without any little sort of bubbles and stuff in it. Okay, so once again, well, what we can do as well is put some in these chutes. Because what happens is this, it wants to sort of bubble up on the surface, and when it bubbles up on the surface, the air bubble will attract itself into the recess, and that's what you don't want. So there we are, everything's looking good there, just a touch in there. And that's the thing, as you see, it sticks out so much on the white. But you can also see that it's given the white a sort of very slightly dirty look. You can see it everywhere. The whole thing's got a very slight dirty patina to it. And I'm going to be honest with you, as this is a kind of beginner's video, I'm tempted to leave it like this and not do anything else. One of the beauties of doing that, especially if you've used a Flory wash, if you put your model on the shelf and then you notice something like you've got a big splodge here or something, you can come along with a cotton bud and just wipe it off. Even like a year's time, you can still wipe it off. Whereas if we seal it in, that's it. It's sealed in, and if you do notice a big finger mark, a flory wash on the wing or something, then that's it, you've had it. So there we go. So we're just going to let that dry, and then we'll rub that off the same, and then I'll come back and we'll do some final assembly. And we're done. So now we can start looking at some final assembly. So first of all, I'll put the undercarriage on because I want something to stand it on. The last thing I want to do is put this antenna on because that's just going to get broken as soon as I turn it over. So let me actually bring you in a bit closer as well. You're a bit zoomed out there, aren't you? There we go. So right, we've got to get this undercarriage on. So we can see in the instructions here, we've got the option of having the doors closed, which I'm not doing, or we can have the gear down, which I'm doing here. So we've got to get these two parts, A10 and A9, which are here. So we'll get A9 off first, which is this one. And if you notice, if you remember, I cut the sprues away so I could paint these on the sprue and clean up and everything. I left them on because this bit down here, where the sprue nib is actually against the roof of the undercarriage base, so it's not going to be seen. It may not be against the roof, but it's certainly upwards, and you're not going to see it because you're looking like this. So we're going to clean the paint off. Always clean the paint off your glue joints on something like this if it's an undercarriage leg or something, and especially if it's been painted with sort of like silver, because it's a fairly resilient paint. And also then here I'm just going to use a sanding stick just to remove some paint from there, and then this is going to go in here. Now there's a hole in the bulkhead there. Because my eyes are all streaming, it's very difficult to see. Okay, that's got to go underneath. So that's got to go underneath there. Wow. What we've got here, this bracket here, you can see where the cocktail stick is going. There's a hole in the bracket there. And the leg has got to go through there. And they've put a cutout for the pin to go through, which is good of them. I think it's still going to be a little difficult. You want to be careful, you don't want to push too hard because you just snap it off. Let's grab a pair of tweezers. There's Jason sending me messages. There we go, that's easier, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So that can go in there, and now that can go. I was going to use super glue on this, I'm glad I haven't. This is very awkward. This is going to be very difficult for a beginner, unfortunately. But just keep going at it and you'll manage it. Don't give up. Now that's got to go down in there, but it's just, there we go. It does go in there. It's a very tight fit. Be very firm with it. Right, so that undercarriage leg is perfectly capable of supporting itself without anything in there. I'm going to put a tiny little drop of extra thin quick setting in here. Just get in there and get out, don't hang around with the brush, and then I'm just going to push that into there. Hopefully it'll stay. If I hold it, hopefully it'll stay. It doesn't want to stay, it wants to spring out. But this end here has fitted beautifully, so I'm just going to put some cement in there, just in one side. And what we've got to do is get this aligned, and there's no alignment instructions in here. I'm assuming it's going to be 90 degrees because it comes out like this. So we'll get the other one off the sprue and clean it up as well. Whoops. Do you know what, guys? I feel really quite ill, I got to be honest. But I want to get this done before the new year. Because as we stand right now, Christmas Eve, I don't think you've even seen part, is it 7 or 6 yet? So just remove some paint from there and remove some paint from here. Okay, and then this has got to go through that gap we got it through this time. And that leg is going to press down into there. This one's not as tight on this side. And that pin is going into that hole, which it doesn't particularly want to do. Right, a bit of extra thin. Try and get some on the brush would be nice. Okay, so that's gone in there, and now what I can do is look across like this and check the undercarriage is aligned. You can see this one's a bit back. And then once we've done that, we can put some cement into there, put a drop down in the front, and put a drop down in the front of this. I don't think I'm getting anything on the brush here. There is a little thing you can do. You can actually pull the bristles out slightly so they reach deeper into the bottom of the pot. That's not the issue I've got here. The issue I've got is the brush is so small it doesn't pick anything up. Right, come on, go in and bloody stay in. Okay, that leg's pulled back again. Just pull it back. You can see they're very, very flimsy. Now, these legs here, we've got these legs going in behind. So we've got B7 and B8. So we get B7 off first. And these are going to go into the slot at the back of the undercarriage leg, and they're going to support, back of the undercarriage bay, sorry. And they're going to support the leg, so they will decide the angle it sits at. Now I just want to make sure that's gone in there. Yeah, that's going in there, lovely. So that bit of paint on there is making that nice and tight. No, it's not going in at all. So we need to get some paint off of there. So the paint will, if you've got a nice tight fitting part, the paint will stop it going together. Particularly if you've got like a wingnut wings kit, but I don't think you'll be building a wingnut wings kit if you're a beginner. Right, so now hopefully that will go down in there, and hopefully it will stay in there. I'm going to have to go with a magnifier, guys, because I'm not quite sure how this is supposed to attach to the undercarriage leg. I think it's the other way around. I just want to have a look through a magnifier. Back in a sec. Alright then guys, I've put those in under the magnifier because, as I say, I've got this bloody cold and my eyes are all running and I can't see anything. Can't see anything at the best of times. This is beautifully designed, this undercarriage. They've made this leg here in one piece, obviously. So it fits through that hole, goes into that front bulkhead and fits very snugly into the gap there on the outside of the undercarriage bay. And then these parts here, this is B7 and this is B8. Make sure you get them the right way around. This end obviously is just a tab that goes into a slot, but on this end, what it is, there's a lug on the back of the undercarriage leg, and you can see it here, where they've got the arrow, the A9, you can see there's a lug sticking out. And that lug is off to the inside. Okay, so on this one it's that way, on that one it's that way. And then on these parts, B7 and B8, they've got, it comes along the end and then it's sort of pushed off to one side. So this one has it that way and this one has it that way. So that when you glue it together, it actually forms a very, very, come on focus, it forms a very solid connection. And that undercarriage, other than the actual flimsiness of the plastic itself, that actual undercarriage is really very robust. That is beautifully designed for something so small and spindly. They've done a lovely job of that. So well done, Airfix. 10 out of 10. Right, so now it's telling us to glue these doors on. Now, I don't think there's any sort of positive location for them. They just go on there. So I'm not really sure. Oh, okay. There's three notches in the legs. So if we just get in with our knife and just scrape out the paint from those notches, just like so. Just want to give the leg a bit of support because it's so spindly. Okay, so those three excuse me guys, those three tabs there are going to go into those notches, so we need to make sure we've got the paint off of them. Okay, and now I'm going to put some extra thin in each slot. Now you might be wondering why I'm not using super glue. That's the wrong one. Reason being, they are going to give the leg some strength, and super glue can be very brittle, as you just saw with that rudder. It just snaps really easily. What I don't want to happen here, if the leg just flexes slightly, I don't want the leg to snap off. I'm going to put a drop of super glue, of extra thin, sorry, there. Just touch it, leave it, don't touch it again in that area. Okay. And then do the same on this side. Put some extra thin in the leg there. And then we should be able to offer this leg up. Just like so. And they fit like a dream. This is incredibly nice, this undercarriage. This is actually nicer than the Revell 1/32 in my opinion. Now I've got some super glue over here just in case, and I'm going to put a little drop here. I just want to super glue the back of this. See, they don't want to stay on it because there's no positive location. It's the same as that rudder. I'm just going to put a drop of super glue there because I want it to... Oh, come on! That's me just saying how good it is. It's turning out to be a complete and utter disaster. Go. I'm just going to put a drop, use a cocktail stick actually rather than a... Just put a drop down in there as well. Guys, I can't see a thing here. I can't see a thing. It's like, you know when you're really tired and your eyes are watering, you can't focus. That's exactly how I am. I'm just looking at the front. It looks like this leg is splayed out slightly. Let's see if I can bring that in a touch. Maybe I can push the... push the bottom end out. That's better. Right. So that's our doors in place. And hopefully they'll stay where they are. So yeah, I was thinking it was absolutely awesome, and it was exactly the same issue with the Revell. It's getting the bloody doors to stay on. As Michael Caine would say, you're supposed to blow the bloody doors off. So that's that. And then the next step is the wheels. And I think for the wheels we will use super glue because... no, in fact, I'll use liquid cement, then we can manipulate them. Now on the wheels, we've got a flat spot. Oh, by the way, all I did, where that flory wash was in the middle, I just come on the cotton bud. Just wipe it around like that and you can see you get lovely enhanced detail on the wheels. If you want more detail, you can put more on. We've got a flat spot on the bottom. Obviously, we want to make sure that goes to the bottom. They fit on there lovely. So what we can do here is drop of extra thin in there, and then just put the wheel on. We need to make sure we've got them the right way round, because if you get them, you've got A13, A12, they're different. If you get them the wrong way round, the flat spot will be in the wrong place. You know, we can see this really starting like a hurricane now, and when you start to get your undercarriage on and stuff, it does really make it pop. So the flat spot's at the bottom. Pull that back, and if you happen to be building the 1/24th scale Spitfire from Airfix, you've got some tabs there that make the wheels position. You need to cut them off, because if you build them out of the box, the flat spots are actually sitting up like that. You can see that on the front of the Airfix magazine, the magazine that's dedicated to building the Spitfire. That leg is still not glued on. Come on! Ugh. See, this is where I get frustrated, because you get these little kits that are aimed at beginners, and this is the bit they sort of give up. They throw it against the wall because they feel like they can't do it, and it's not them. It's the kit. It's not their ability. It's the kit, and that's what you have to remember, guys. You see, this side is perfect, but this side just doesn't want to know. It's really strange. Yeah, that's going to have to do. I'm sure that'll stay on there. There we go. There's our undercarriage in, as you can see. And you can see it's really starting to look like a hurricane now. So we've got the pitot tube here to go on. Pitot tube is obviously going to go on the black wing. So we'll cut that one off. Just like so. We'll see how it's going to fit. Okay, you can see where it's going to go. It's going in there. So there's a tiny little recess there. It's not even a hole. So what I'm going to do is get my knife. I'm going to get in there. I'm just going to make an indentation to remove the paint. And then I am going to grab some super glue. With these tiny parts, it's not a bad idea to use super glue, because if it does get knocked, it just snaps off rather than breaks or bends the part. So that's got to go into there. I can't even see that hole. There we go. Make sure that's straight in every way. So that's gone in. You can see the pitot tube there. Black against black, it's not easy to see, but it's there. So that's that one, and then we're not putting the pilot figure in. Let's get the prop glued in. You can see we got this is spinnable, so this fits in here really snug. So what I can do here is just get some super glue and just put a couple of drops on the outside. The reason I'm using super glue here, if I use liquid cement, it might capillary and stop the propeller from spinning. Just manipulating it to make sure the glue is spread around. There's our propeller in. Now our exhausts, B10 and B9, so we get B9 off first. So here's B9. Now these may, because they've got some paint on them, they may just push in and stay. No such luck. So we'll have to get a tiny drop of super glue. I need to clean this thing off. The way I do this is with a cigarette lighter. Be very careful because it's extremely flammable. Just do that and burn off the excess, and then just wipe it in a cloth. And then we've got our, oh come on, we've got our super glue applicator, very small again, and now it won't pick up any glue. So I'm going to use a cocktail stick, go into that hole just like that, and a piece drop in the back just like that, and then when we put our exhaust in, it should stay in place. And then the other side, just check fit that one. Sorry guys, my stomach's grumbling. That one is a bit tighter, but I'm just going to put a bit of glue in there anyway. So a drop in there, drop in there. That'll be enough to hold them in place. There we go, they're in. Make sure they're nice and straight from the front. Now we can remove our sponge from the cockpit, and we can remove our tape from the seat, and we can remove our tape from the bulkhead. If I could get hold of it, please, that would be nice. Where's my pointed tool? There we go. There's our nice cockpit green bulkhead all masked off, as you can see. And then we've got the masking on the inside of the canopy. Where's that tool gone? I'm just going to get in under here, just get hold of that. So that'll take that out. So there's our cockpit all done. You can see our seat in there and the bulkhead. Now this window here is stuck to a piece of blue tack. Be very careful, don't squeeze it because it'll just snap in half. Okay, and that is going to go on like that, but we're not going to bother with that at the moment. We're going to put that on after with a little tiny drop of white glue. We do not use super glue on clear parts. Right, I just want to check that propeller is, yeah, that propeller is fitted firmly. And then finally, I'm going to put on the tail, not finally, I'm going to cut off the tail wheel off the sprue. And then that will go in there. Yeah, we'll get a tiny drop of super glue in there. And then that can go up in the slot. And we're going to use a pair of tweezers to push it at the base rather than push it out the wheel, because if you push it out the wheel it's likely to snap. There we go. And all of this is very, very fragile, guys, so you need to be really careful now. Make sure you haven't got any glue on your fingers as well. And then finally, you can cut this antenna off of its lump. And we're going to see how this is going to fit, and I bet it's going to be a nightmare, which means we have to touch up the brown paint. Where did that go? There it is. Okay, it goes in one certain way. It's got like a ramp on it. So there we are. What I'm going to do is just remove the sprue nib from the base, trying not to snap it off, and just put a bit of a chamfer on it on the bottom edge, just to help it in a bit. And as you can see, it's got like a ramp to it, sort of higher here than it is there. So make sure it goes in with the higher bit at the front. I need to get some dinner, don't I? Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a drop of extra thin quick setting in there. Just a tiny drop. What that will do is soften any paint that's in there, and that will help me get it in. There we go. You can see how that's gone in there beautifully. Make sure it's straight, and there we are, that's our antenna in. You can see that one there. And when we look at side profiles of the aircraft, you can see the sort of angle it's supposed to be on, and it's supposed to be vertically up, so we can do it going back a touch. There you go. And that, my friends, is our model basically finished. So what we can do now is stop the camera because it's running out of memory. Right, so we're pretty much ready to finish this off now. One little finishing touch you might want to put on here is the antenna wire, okay, which goes across here. Now you can get stuff called Easy Line, and you can, all these manufacturers are making their own version of Easy Line now, but if you haven't got that, you can actually use stretch sprue. So the way to do that, you get your cigarette lighter, you light your little tea light, okay, just like so. And then I've got a piece of sprue here which I've taken out of the kit. This is what some of the parts we've just fitted were attached to. And I'm going to hold, in fact I'm going to hold it this way around, hold it over the flame and just basically twist it. If you are a youngster, get an adult to do this until it goes all floppy, okay? And then we're just going to pull it and just keep pulling. As you can see, what we can make is a really, really thin, really, really fine little length of line which will go on there perfectly for our antenna. So what we can do here is look at what we've got, and I think the finest bit is there, so we use the finest part, so we'll just cut that away there, get rid of that. And we've got this piece here, so we'll cut it too long, and then all we need to do, and I'm going to need a magnifier for this I think, all we need to do is put a drop of super glue on the end of the antenna, or on the end of the antenna post here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a drop of super glue on there, and I'm going to place this down on top, and that should glue instantly to the top of that antenna. And I think the glue is dried already. Yes, it has. In fact, it's stuck to my finger. So what we can do is put some glue on here. Right guys, it's done. In the end, I did use my Easy Line. This is Infinity model fine. You can get Easy Line, you can get Ushi van der Rost, and you can get all sorts of stuff. I've done videos on it all before. This is 1/48 it says, but I like to use something a bit heavier so that it shows up. So you can see that's gone on there, and the beauty of this is it's flexible. I'll show you in a second when I cut the end off. What I'm going to do is just with a drop of super glue, I'm just going to put a dollop on the top of where the line is. And what that does, that kind of gives the effect that the line is in the antenna rather than stuck to the top of it. Okay, it kind of gives you that effect. So we're just going to let that dry for a second, and then we can cut the excess off. In the meantime, get our super glue out of the way. We're going to make sure we've got nothing on our fingers, and we can start to look at actually unmasking our canopy. We're going to see how it looks. So this has been on here for a long time, so it's not going to be that easy to unmask. I'm just going to try and get under the corner of each piece and just lift it. Try not to scratch the clear. So there's that one, there's that one, there's that one. If you remember, when we did this, we painted it green first, interior green, and now when you look on the inside, you can see we have an interior green frame, and on the outside we have a dark green frame. So that's what we want to achieve. Whoops. I need to be really careful with this part not to squeeze it, being clear, it's quite brittle, it will snap very easily. And the other thing I've noticed, I would like to have put this canopy on open, but the kit doesn't allow it. And if I'd have noticed it before, if I build another one, what I will do is modify the kit to allow this canopy to fit open. I really didn't want to put it on closed, but you cannot at this stage. I mean, I could, but I don't want to start having to repaint everything. I don't want to start modifying the model to allow me to have the canopy open. Now, in a minute, I will tell you, I will show you what to do. Well, I'm not going to show you what to do, I'll tell you what to do. And I'll show you where to do it so that you can get it open. As I say, if I build another one, that'll be the first thing I'll do, is get the parts off the sprues, get them taped together and modify it. And it's an easy mod as well. Right, so there's our canopy, and as you can see, using the masking techniques I showed you, no aftermarket mask sets, you can get a lovely finish. You can get a lovely look to your model. So get rid of those bits of tape there. And they like to stick to your hands rather than anything else, the same as the super glue does. And then here, we're going to grab our model carefully, and then we're going to pick out these masks here and try not to scratch anything. So there's that there. We've got the armour plate on the front, or the armoured glass should I say. What I'm doing is trying to pick up the mask and pull away. I'm not scraping across because I don't want to scratch the clear. And as I say, this tape has been on here for over a month, so it's quite difficult to get off. So you can see our windscreen there, all done. Right, so now we've got that all dealt with. We need to find some nice little scissors, and we can come in here and we can cut away our line just like so. As I say, if you don't have this, then use stretch sprue. It'll be absolutely fine, it'll look lovely. The only disadvantage to using stretch sprue over this is if you knock stretch through, it'll stretch the sprue even, it'll snap. This won't. Okay, so there you go, you can see we've got our antenna on there. Just adds that nice little finishing touch to the model. Now the canopy, as I say, you can't put it on in the open position. You can see there it is closed and it fits great, but if I try and have it in the open position, you can see it sits up in the air, and that is because we have this moulded on rail here. So if I was building another one of these, I would get the fuselage halves, take them together, and then I would carve away those rails, these pieces here, these raised areas here, I would carve them away to reduce the width of that so that this will fit down over the top. Because basically you can see it's fitting down there, so what we need to do is carve the fuselage away so that it's the same size as it is there where the canopy's sitting in. But too late for that now, I'm not doing that. I could do it, but I'd have to repaint everything. So what we're going to do is have to attach our clear part like that. Now how are we going to do that? Tiny drop of white glue. This is called microcrystal clear. You don't have to use microcrystal clear, you can use ordinary white glue, ordinary white school glue. It'll do exactly the same job. And all I'm going to do is put a couple of drops on the bottom, a couple of drops on each side, just like that. And then we can pick up the clear part. Maybe we could use tweezers. And put it in position like so. And that's good enough. That will dry crystal clear, as it says on the bottle. And what I'm going to do is just wet a cotton bud and just wipe away any excess there. And then I'm just going to wipe away any excess there. Okay, I'll just move the bloody thing. Any glue that shows on the inside doesn't matter because it dries clear. Because it's behind a shiny clear part, it won't show up. There you go. So we'll leave that like that. And the last thing we've got to do is unmask our landing lights. Just like so. And final one. There we go. So there you can see our finished model looking all lovely. So hopefully that will inspire you to have a go, because there's a lot of people out there that are sending me messages lately and saying, I've decided to pick this up again, or I've decided to have a go, and they're finding these videos really, really helpful. Now, I just want to talk for a couple of minutes. If you want to fast forward to the end, carry on. This video is kind of, it's for beginners, and it's sort of showing you how to go that extra mile. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you're using an airbrush, you're doing stretch sprue, you're doing this, that's not beginners. No, it's not. But if I just sat here every day and did videos on how to build an Airfix starter set using the paints, the glue and the brush that's in the box, no one's actually going to learn anything. You'll learn how to build an Airfix starter set using the paints and the brush, but you're never going to know what's out there that's better to use. Now, you've seen on here, I have basically, we painted this with outlaw paints, but that wasn't part of the build. That was a paint trial. But this is a bit of glitter on there. It's off a Christmas card, I expect, from Wendy. So basically, what's happened, we have painted this model using AK real colours. Okay, so I've shown you that using an airbrush and using those paints, you can get a far superior finish than you're going to get using paints that are in the Airfix box if it's a starter set. You could use Tamiya paint, whatever, but I've just used AK real colours. You could use any paint you like. I would seriously suggest, if you are new to the hobby, start thinking about getting yourself an airbrush. Somebody was asking me the other day about cheap packages. I saw there was one from Fengdu or something. It's about £135 for a compressor and an airbrush, which is a great price. 10 years ago, £135 wouldn't get you hardly any airbrush. You can just get an airbrush and run it off a spare tyre. You can get an airbrush and run it off cans. You can even buy these little rechargeable airbrushes on Amazon. The cheaper you go, the quality is going to suffer. But I still think a cheap airbrush is going to give you better finish than brushing. Unless, of course, you're starting to use enamels. Enamels brush beautifully, but they do take a long time to dry and they're quite smelly. So that's why I've used an airbrush in this. As for stuff like washes and stuff, I've used Flory Wash because it's readily available, it's cheap, it's easy to use, and it's very quick, as you've seen here. So there's the reason I've done that. Really what this should get now is a matte coat to matte it down. But I think you guys have had enough of me showing you different effects using an airbrush and this, that and the other. So I've decided to leave it as it is with this kind of satiny finish, which is possibly correct for a brand new aircraft. But that's as far as I'm going to go. I could have started adding streaking from the exhausts, all sorts, but it's just going beyond. What I'm trying to do is get you to pick up the hobby and push yourself a little bit so you can achieve results like this. Okay? And that's all I want to do. Now, when it comes on to doing weathering with exhausts and stuff, in my big builds, you'll see me do that on there. You can go and see the other Hurricane I've done. You can see the Spitfire. You can go and look at the Sea King I've done, where I did all the exhaust marking down the outside, and everybody said, oh, it's too dark. Well, it's not, because I got photographs to show it just like that. I've got that wheel on the P as well. There we go. Just straighten that out. There we go. So yeah, all I want to do is show you how to go that extra step, go that extra mile. And if you want to see, how to build a model from the box Airfix do their own videos on starter sets and everything, but personally my feeling is with Airfix starter sets, they're always like 1/72 scale, which I think for a beginner is too fiddly. I think they would be much better off putting a 1/48 scale. It's like this undercarriage. A beginner would really struggle with this. Whereas a 1/48 scale, they probably wouldn't. The glue that they put in there, I find, doesn't work very well at all. I would much rather they used like a liquid cement or something like Revell use in their contactor glues, in their starter sets. So yeah, I actually would not recommend like the Zero or the Spitfire or whatever as an Airfix starter set for a brand new beginner. That's not, I don't think that's the way to go. You know, this has been very, very fiddly. It's been tetchy at times, and it's also very, very flimsy because it's so small. I think a 1/48 scale would be far better for a beginner. So that's why I've done it the way I've done it, in case you're wondering. And there are people that comment, you know, why are you doing this? Because that's not beginners and everything. I know, but it's for beginners plus. Okay, it's like beginners plus one. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed it. It's a lovely little build, and it'll look great part next to my 1/32 scale one. I'm going to do another 32nd scale Airfix build, starting very, very soon, and I think you'll all enjoy that. And that will be a little bit more advanced than this, but not too much. It's not. I'm not going to be adding loads of detail and stuff, and this, that, and the other. So stay tuned. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and you'll see my new videos coming up. In fact, thinking about it, by the time you see this, I may have already started that other Airfix build, and the videos may already be going out. So you'll know what it is if I have. But I have got a lot on my plate at the moment. So there we go. Right. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.